Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Let's start with our lecture series on NCERT Geography Class 7. So under this, we're going to start with our first chapter in the session, and this is presented to you by me, Lakshmi Saujanya. So our first chapter of Class 7 Geography is environment. So first of all, we'll look at what is environment, and we'll get to learn many more things about our environment. So first, in this particular chapter 1, if you understand the basics of environment, so later in the next chapters, you'll understand what is present inside our earth, our changing earth, and many more topics. So as a basic for all this, here we're going to see what comprises our environment. So what is the meaning of environment? What all are the components of environment? So these things would be discussed under this chapter. So let's get started. So basically, what is environment? What comprises of environment? So everything that we see around us. So just the place at which you're standing, just look around you. So whatever things are present around you, all of that, it comprises your environment, right? That means it includes everything around us like nature, people and things. So right now, wherever you're sitting, just look around you. Some things would be present around you like a chair, a table, right, pen, book, etc. And also some people would be present around you, your parents, friends, siblings, etc. So all those people around you, all those things around you, and the nature around you. So all of this comprises of environment. So this is a simple definition of environment. So it includes everything around us, including our nature, people and things. Right. So to understand what environment is, just look around you and you'll get to understand what our environment is. So whatever things that you can see around you, that is what comprises of our environment. As simple as that. So hope you're clear with what our environment is. So basically the people, the things and the nature around you, that is what is our environment. So it's a mix of natural things as well as things humans make. So here if you see, we have seen the definition of environment as all the things that surround us. So it can be nature, people or things. So if you consider the nature around you, it is under our natural things. It is given by us by the nature. These are natural things. We have not made these things like the water bodies that you may see around you, or the air that surrounds you, the land that you live on. So all these are natural things, not human made things, right? And you have some things which are around you like a table. It is a man-made thing, or a pen, a book which is around you. So all these are human made things. So environment comprises of both natural things and man-made things. Some of them are natural, some of them are man-made. So all of them combined together, we have our environment, right? So just remember this, environment doesn't only mean the naturally made things, it also includes human made things, right? All those things are also included under our environment definition. Then we learn about nature and also how we interact with it. So now that you have understood what is environment, what is nature, etc. So now we'll understand how we people interact with the nature. How do we interact with the environment? Does human actions have any impact on the environment? And does the environment have any impact on the humans? Yes, we do have an impact. So whatever actions that we do, whatever activities that we take up, those activities, they have an impact on the climate, right? So for example, if we are using more fossil fuels and we are contributing to the pollution, then it leads to climate change, global warming. So these kinds of changes can be seen in the environment. So that means whatever human activities that we are doing, they must be eco-friendly. That means we should not damage the environment, because our activities, whatever activities that we are taking up, they'll definitely have an impact on the environment that in turn has an impact on us. Right. So for example, we are not following any kind of eco-friendly practices, and we are following all kind of unsustainable practices which harm the environment. So what will happen in such a situation? Then these activities that we are doing, those unsustainable practices and non-eco-friendly practices, that will lead to a damage of the environment. So due to that, climate change, global warming will increase, the monsoon patterns will change, rainfall patterns will be unpredictable. So because of that, the agricultural productivity will be affected, because when there is less rainfall, the agricultural productivity will be affected, and finally the food security of humans will be affected. See, it is a complete cycle wherein our activities, they have come back to us as an effect, right? So we are contributing to climate change, and because of that, again, we are the people who are getting affected due to that. So we are damaging both environment, and also we are getting affected by ourselves. So to avoid all these kinds of things, what we have to do is we have to adopt some sustainable practices, and we have to go for eco-friendly practices. So now let's see how we people can interact with the environment, so that it will be sustainable, and also it will be advantageous for both us and also for the environment. So let's see these kind of practices and how we interact with the environment. So here we have natural environment. So we have both natural environment and human-made environment, right? So what comprises of this natural environment? So let's see the components of this natural environment. So nature has land, water, air, plants and animals. So are these made by humans? Does humans make air or make plants or animals? All these are nature made, right? So all these are natural things. Nature has some land. So is that land limited or unlimited? It is limited, because if you consider the entire surface of the earth, out of this entire surface, only 30% of it is covered by land, right? So just imagine how large or huge the surface of the earth would be. So how large is our earth? So just imagine the entire surface of the earth. Out of this entire surface, only 30% is covered by land area. And within this 30%, is this entire 30% habitable? That means, can we live on this 30%? Is it conducive to live? No, it is not. Only a small percentage of this 30% of the land, it is habitable. So remaining land is not habitable. That only 30% of the earth's surface is land, and within that only a small percentage of it is habitable. That means we have a very limited and finite amount of land. So that is why we have to use this land judiciously, and we have to use it properly, so that we can have an efficient usage, because we have a lot of growing population, especially in the recent times. So earlier we used to be the second most populous country in the entire world. But now if you see, after mid-2023, we have surpassed China, and now we are the most populous country, means the country which has the highest population in the entire world, right? So when the population is increasing, does the land also increase along with that? No, it doesn't increase, right? We have this limited or finite amount of land. So this land has to be used by the people, right? So for that, what is needed? A proper planning is needed. We must have a proper land use planning, right? So these are the natural resources provided for us by the nature. The land, the finite amount of land or the limited amount of land that is present for us for our usage, it is a limited amount, and that is provided by for us by the nature. Then we have air, water resources, right, and the plants and animals. All these are the things that are comprised in the nature, natural systems, right, in the nature. So nature comprises of land, water, air, plants, animals. So all these things comes under our nature. So now we have got a fair idea of what is nature, right? Then land or lithosphere. So we'll also see what lithosphere is. It has soil, rocks and cool places like mountains. So consider this particular thing, that is land. So what do we have on the land? We have soil, rocks and mountains plateaus, plains, right? So these kinds of landforms are present, and it is comprised of rocks. How does soil form? So what is basically soil? What do you understand by the term soil? And what do you understand by the term rocks? What do you mean by rocks? What comes to your mind when you think of a rock? Rock is a huge boulder, right? That is what comes to your mind when you think of rock. So what does it comprise of? So a rock comprises of some minerals. Right. So rocks are physical substances which are comprised of minerals, and we have different types of rocks. So in the upcoming chapters, once we discuss inside our earth, in that chapter you'll understand the various layers that we have within the earth, and have different rocks are formed, like igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. So we'll also discuss about the different types of rocks over there. So for now, remember, rocks are the physical substances which are made of minerals. So from these rocks, soil is formed. Right. So what do you understand by soil? What comes to your mind when you think of soil? It is a loose layer of some particles. Right. This is what comes to your mind. The top layer on the earth. Right. It is a top layer that we have on the earth, which is comprised of some fine particles. This is what comes to your mind. Right. So yes, you are almost right. So soil is the topmost layer of the earth's surface. So this is formed from the rocks. So how does soil form from the rocks? Because these rocks, they disintegrate to form this soil. Right. So for example, when there are different ways in which soil is formed. We'll discuss that in the upcoming slides and all. So for now, remember, soil is formed from these rocks. That can be sometimes through weathering and erosion. So for example, there is a huge rock boulder, and there is a heavy wind which is blowing every day, and it hits this place every day. So what happens to this place? These particles in this place, whatever particles are present, they get eroded and they fall down over here. Right. Then the shape of the rock becomes this way. So the shape of the rock, it changes, and this part that we used to have, it has disintegrated into small particles and it falls down. So these small particles, they get transported by air, water, etc. So that's how these particles move from this place to another place, and these are the ones which contribute to this soil layer. So this is one way in which soil can be formed. So there are different ways in which it is formed. So this is one way in which soil is formed. So this is how soil is formed from the rocks. Right. So on the land surface, we have soil, we have rocks, and also we have mountains. So how mountains are formed, it has different ways in which mountains are formed. So for example, if we consider the example of fold mountains. So how are fold mountains formed? We have tectonic plates. So what are those tectonic plates? So consider this as the entire surface of the earth. So this entire surface of the earth, it is divided into different plates. And these plates, they are always on the move. They are always moving. So when these plates are moving, so what will happen? Due to that movement, it can have three different types of movements. They may either come towards each other, or they may move away from each other, or they may move slide past each other, which is a transform movement. So in case two plates are moving towards each other, what will happen? They'll raise up. And that is what leads to this formation of this kind of fold mountains. So in this way, we have the formation of some mountains, and we also have plateaus, plains, valleys. So these kinds of landforms are present on the land that is on the lithosphere. Right. So here, remember, land or lithosphere, it has rocks, soil, mountains, plateaus, plains, valleys, etc. Right. Then water, which is hydrosphere. So whenever you come across lithosphere, remember it as land, and when it is hydrosphere, it is related to our water. So what do we have as part of hydrosphere? We have rivers, lakes, oceans, where fish live. Right. So all the water bodies that you see. So you would have, what comes to your mind when I say water bodies? It can be rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, all these are water bodies. And as you know, fish live in this water bodies. So all these water bodies come under our hydrosphere. Then we have atmosphere. So remember all these things, like we have biosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, etc. So atmosphere is air. So what do we have as a part of atmosphere? It is a thin blanket protecting us, and it has gases. So let's understand what atmosphere is. So consider this as our earth. So if this is our earth, around our earth there is a thin blanket of air, right, around this. So this thin blanket of air is what is known as our atmosphere. So what does it comprise of? It comprises of various gases, right? So why does it appear in this way, and why is it so close to our earth? Why is it not moving away from the earth? You may have these questions in your mind, right? So I've told you that it's a thin blanket of air which surrounds our earth. So it is just a blanket of air, and it comprises of gases. So why is it not moving away from the earth? So the reason here is gravity. As you know, earth has this gravitational pull. So due to that gravitational force, it pulls it towards itself. So due to that gravitational force, this thin blanket of air, which is comprised of gases, that is our atmosphere, it remains close to the earth's surface, right? And it protects us. So here I've told you that this is a blanket which protects us. So how does it protect us? Right, how does it protect us, and also from what does it protect us? So these are the questions that may arise in your mind. So it protects us from harmful sun rays, right? So sun has it emits some ultraviolet rays, right? So these ultraviolet rays, which are known as our incoming solar radiation, because it is coming from the sun, we call it as solar radiation, and since it is incoming, we call it as incoming solar radiation. And we also have outgoing terrestrial radiation, that is, the earth also radiates that. So that thing which goes out, it comes under our outgoing terrestrial radiation. So when this is happening, it protects us from this harmful UV rays. So the atmosphere is the one which protects us. So imagine earth without having an atmosphere. And here we have the sun. Right. So when we do not have any atmosphere, the sun's rays did reach the earth directly. Right. So it gets heated up a lot. Right. Because we have this atmosphere, it is protecting us from this harmful UV rays or ultraviolet rays from the sun. Right. So if we do not have our atmosphere, the layer that we have right now, our life would be very difficult on earth, because all this ultraviolet rays and the sun's heat, it would reach the earth's surface directly, right? And it will impact human beings, plants, animals. Everything would be impacted when we do not have this layer of atmosphere, right? But when we have this layer of atmosphere, it protects us from all this. That is why I've told you here that it is a layer protecting us, and it is comprised of various gases. So what kind of gases could be present in the atmosphere? Just have a guess. It is basically comprised of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other gases in small percentages, right? So these are the major gases like nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. These are the major gases. Along with this, it also has some other gases like argon, etc., right, in small quantities. So in this way, it is comprised of different types of gases. So this is what is our atmosphere. Hope you are clear with it. Then all these things together make life possible, which is biosphere. So we have one more sphere here, that is biosphere. When all these things comes together, that is lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere, when they come together, it makes life possible. So imagine we have lithosphere but we do not have atmosphere. Can we live? No, we cannot, because we'll not have this gases and we will also not have this protection from this harmful ultraviolet rays. So we must have all this. And imagine a case where we have lithosphere and atmosphere, but we do not have the hydrosphere. So what would happen? We do not have water to drink, right? So we cannot live in that case also. So that is why three of these are very important for us, right? That is our atmosphere. We need atmosphere to breathe and all, and also to protect us from this harmful ultraviolet rays. And we need this hydrosphere because we need water to drink and to survive. And then we need lithosphere, that is the land. So why is lithosphere needed? It is needed to live on the land, right? So when all these things come together, when we have all these together, only then we have life becomes easier and we can live on our planet, right? This is what is our biosphere. So this is the place at which our atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere meets. So I'll give you one more representation. So consider this is our atmosphere, this is lithosphere and this is hydrosphere. So what is the place which has the common point between all these three? So the common point is, the common area is this. Right, it has a part of atmosphere, a part of lithosphere and a part of biosphere, hydrosphere. This is what is known as our biosphere. So hope you are clear enough about our biosphere. That means the place, the area where we have the common point of this atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere, it is what is our biosphere, right? So understand this and try to remember this about our biosphere, because only when we have a proper coordination with the all this like atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere, only then we can have a proper life, right? Life is possible and it makes life possible and easier when we have all these three together: atmosphere, lithosphere and hydrosphere, right?